All right, everyone, time for a little bit of 2020 election banter because a new poll came out. This is CNN administered, I believe, saying that the majority of Americans believe that Trump will win re-election in 2020. I happen to agree with the majority for once, which is funny. It's interesting because if you look at all the polling metrics, the Democrats should be happy. They're like, oh, Biden's ahead of him in Michigan. He's close in Texas. Like, wow, it should be a wipeout. And Trump's not that popular and he might get impeached and stuff. So then why are all of these Democrats so demoralized? Because more than 50%, Trump's approval is only like at 42, 43 right now. So you'd think if this boiled down to a partisan issue, that wouldn't be the case now, would it? The fact is that a lot of Democrats, if they're intelligent, they're demoralized right now. They're demoralized because they're looking at their front runner. They see a geriatric old crazy dude. He's not a strong candidate. If they look at Bernie Sanders, again, geriatric, socialistic, has some problems with optics at this point. You look at the next person in line, Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren spent decades lying about her ethnicity. That is a liability, a big liability. She's also, again, she's no spring chicken. Then you finally get to the person who's like, as far as optics go, would be, of the top four at least, the strongest, which is Kamala Harris. She lied about the Tupac thing. She was a tough on crime liberal years ago. And now she's trying to run on a leftist platform of reform and be kind to people and hippie trippy granola crunching. It's not going to work. You have to get down to the fifth place challengers like Beto and Buttigieg before you have people who at least generally speaking would be more representative of maybe the Democratic core at large. And they're never going to get a chance. No, Beto O'Rourke is not going to be the Democratic nominee. It'd be funny if he was. It'd be funny Trump would be prowling around on stage and Beto would be flailing around like an evangelical minister, and it would be pretty high energy, I'm sure. And yeah, at least the other candidate would be able to campaign as hard as Trump can. Do you think that Biden or Sanders can really do that? Sanders is campaigning harder than Biden. He's got 25,000 volunteers right now in Iowa. What does Biden have? I don't think it's nearly that much. He needs to fucking up his game or he is going to get wiped off the face of the earth by Bernie Sanders of all people. Can you imagine how bad the optics would be of that? Bernie Sanders gets nominated regardless of what the DNC says. It'd be funny. But the majority expects Trump to win. I agree with them because I can't see any viable opponents that he could have that really can hold a candle to him. He's got the incumbent advantage. He's coming off of good economic reports generally. He has had some major foreign policy successes, and he's trying to notch a couple more wins on that. Things are going generally well right now. It's funny, a lot of people, this was pointed out on Fox a while ago of all places. If these sort of economic, if the situation were the same except the president weren't Donald Trump, specifically if it were a Democrat or maybe like a neocon Republican or something, they'd be riding in the mid-upper 50s as far as their approval goes. The fact is that Donald Trump's characteristics turn some people off, his attitude, although they also endear him to, a third or 40% or so of the electorate. His core fan base, that is. Maybe smaller than that, maybe 25%. They endear him to them, but then there are some centrists, centrists so-called, they balk at having President Twitter, and he says mean thing, it's not like he doesn't get antagonized, but they only focus on the response, I suppose. Or, at the same time, they're taken in by the nonstop tidal wave of legacy media spew that says Orange Man bad, and doesn't want to report on the reality, which is, hey, we're not in the middle of a major war, although there has been some escalation in Iraq. By the way, I do oppose that. I did call Trump out on that. We don't have any, we're not in a recession, we're not in any major conflicts that weren't already ongoing for the most part. We've had some good diplomatic wins, and if it weren't for obstruction, we'd probably have solved the border crisis by now. So things are generally going well right now. And it's the economy, stupid, really applies here. It's really about the money. It's very funny to see all of these hit piece reports talking about how Congress agrees that, and it's really the Democrat-controlled House saying this, but they're not going to tell you that in the tagline. Congress says that the tax cuts didn't do anything. Well, that's bullshit. Certainly helped me a little bit. Hell, I'd be hurting for certain if it weren't for them. I can't wait till the mandate conks out in the next fiscal year. There's no more 2.5% penalty for not having health insurance. I'm sitting here in my early 30s. I'm like, am I likely to have a massive heart attack? Not for a few years. Maybe I want to wait and take that money and put it towards something else to increase my overall value in the future so I won't have a problem paying for that health care. Maybe that would be more prudent. Maybe I've got bigger concerns on my mind. Yes, of course, I could get massively crippled tomorrow. A moose could charge at me in the woods, break all 4 of my limbs. Shit, I'm out of money now and I'm in heavy debt to this hospital. It's not likely though. People need to stop being paranoid, worrying all the time. You show them pictures of some diseased little children or something like that, and all of a sudden they're willing to cough up a bunch of money. It's interesting how that works for gun control and things like that too. Think of the children. Think of the children. We've got to go bomb these people. Otherwise, you're not thinking that you're anti-patriotic or something. If you don't want the government to root through your trash to find out if you're loyal or not, then you hate the children. You want terrorism or something. Yeah, I think that Trump will probably win. If he's up against Biden, it'd be a 90% chance. 85% if it's Sanders. I'd say, of the top level candidates, Buttigieg arguably is the most viable. That's hilarious. Warren's probably the least viable. Specifically, the specific problem she has with the ethnicity question is not going to go away. It's already hurting her in the primaries. There's a reason why she's not as strong as Bernie Sanders. She's, considerably younger. She's not that poorly spoken until she's antagonized, which is why she wouldn't do well against Trump. Ultimately, she should be riding around the same level as him. But instead, she keeps playing like third wheel constantly. And for a while, she wasn't even in third place. Arguably, Harris is still there in third. Warren seems to have risen up a couple points, at least in the aggregate. I can move in the other direction. It could be wrong. It could be she ends up becoming the nominee. But I don't think she would win if she did. And Beto, oh my God, he'd do the most poorly of all. His optics are even eating dirt because you lost a fucking bid against Ted Cruz. You lose against Ted Cruz of all people. The Democrats funneled more money into that race trying to unseat Cruz than any other, and they still lost by a significant margin. The Democrats are, we're going to flip Texas, blue Texas soon. No, it's not going to happen. I love it when they show these cherry-picked polls, which they invariably are. Oh, Biden was a point ahead of Trump in one of like 20 polls in Texas. Wow. Really impresses me. You're not going to be able to take Texas. After a couple of decades, maybe, the paradigm shift could throw parts of the South and Southwest to the Dems, but at the same time, the Rust Belt and some of those places are moving more Republican. I can see in the near future the Pacific Northwest potentially following suit. Trust me, it's possible. That could be part of this current paradigm. Be interesting if that happens. But as far as Trump winning in 2020, if he runs, no major health problems, doesn't get removed from office or something, leaving us with President Pence, which would be hilarious. Yeah, certainly a better than 50-50 chance. Looking at virtually all the possible metrics we can, even some Democrats are like, we expect him to win. They're just not happy about it. That's about all. Peace out.